Yes, I'd like 10 beers, please.
Sir, your ID card says you're a British woman named Peggy Carter.
Oh, yeah. Hello, I'd like 10 beers, please.
Fine, but you're getting Zimas.
That'll do.
Welcome in to the Bro Force Squad podcast, where we're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and watching TV and movies. I am your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornacek. This is our review of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7, Episode 3, entitled Alien Commies from the Future.
Love it.
We are here to review this as we do all of our TV episodes on the 4 Bro Force Squad criteria: the cast and the acting, story, our favorite scene, and then any theories or questions we have going forward. As always, shout out to our boy Trend Pimp in the YouTube comments. My co-host today, is the mad scientist Brian Banner. So Banner, now we have our first episode in 1950s, since we just moved on from the 30s. What did you think of what the cast did here? Getting to play it a little bit differently. We've moved up like 2 decades in terms of how they have to act and perform.
So I realized something this episode. Chloe Bennett is a fucking rock star. If you take a look at what she did and what she was doing in the first season to what she's doing now, not that she wasn't good in the first season, I thought she was fantastic, but she is phenomenal in this. She's finally putting everything together. She knows who she is. She knows who Daisy is, or Sky, or whatever you want to call her, Quake, in this particular episode. She has figured it out, and I just thought that her performance, and it'll actually be my best scene, but there's a specific scene that I was just like, holy shit, she has come a long way. And if there was somebody that I think could carry this show aside from Coulson, it's her.
I totally agree. She has completely grown up in front of our eyes. Like, when she started this show 6 years ago, I don't think she had hardly any acting experience at all. She was on like an episode of Nashville. So this was like her biggest role to date.
What more experience do you need, Jeff?
That's true. You're ready for the big leagues at that point. Just put me in the game. And like you said, there has been like talk and some rumblings that Quake might get her own Disney Plus show somewhere down the line. And if that happens, I will have zero reservations at all that Chloe Bennett herself can headline her own series, because she has so much charisma. She just captivates you on screen, man. She's so confident in what she's doing, but she can also play that vulnerability too. I think back to the whole Inhuman season where she met her dad and was like coming to terms with like why her parents abandoned her and all that. And that was some awesome stuff. Like, they really put her up to, she had to step up to the plate there. And she basically carried the show for like 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think that without her being so good every step of the way, I don't know that this show could have survived. And I think everybody is part of that, but I think she has a big to do because they relied on her story so heavily in the first few seasons.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make it 7 seasons, it can't all just be all Coulson all the time. Other actors and characters have to step up and take bigger roles. And I agree, she has been probably the biggest beneficiary of getting that opportunity. I don't have much to mention here, but it was nice to see Enver Jokaj come back as Daniel Souza. Of course, he was in the Agent Carter TV series. I loved his character in that, where they were like starting up the SSR, and he was the only one who really trusted that Peggy was not the double agent that she was accused of. And of course, could there be a more appropriate character to reappear than when Gemma is impersonating Peggy Carter? No. And he got like excited at first. He was like, oh shit, my old flame is here.
Yeah, he got excited. He was thinking he was going to get some, and instead he didn't.
Yeah, he's like, you're hot, but you're not like Peggy, so
yeah,
you might still make
like, I mean, maybe if it's 1:30, but that's the best you're going to get out of me right now.
Yeah, I'm not that drunk. Yeah. And again, on this show, we have to give credit where credit's due. Jeffrey Ward as Deke in this episode, I actually liked quite a bit. His interrogation scene where he walks in and does the slow clap for the head of the DoD. Anytime, I don't know, the one time that I think Deke really works as a character, and you and I talked off pod, he's been a mess. He's been like a different person all 3 seasons. But the one time he does really work is when he has like this irrational confidence. And he had that when he walked into the tent to interrogate that guy. Like he had no reason to be cocky and sure of himself, but he was.
Yeah, I think I'm not trying to defend Jeffrey Ward in any way here, but he's had a tough go of it because, like you said, he's had to play 3 or 4 different characters, and that's hard to do and hard to hit on every step of the way. There's just no consistency there, which I think that's part of the writing, which they haven't missed that really at all, other than with his character. But I didn't hate him in this episode. I thought he was fine. The slow clap was funny. His kind of being a baby, like, oh, I'm not trained, but yet the last episode he was all for going out in the field and shit like that. So just the inconsistencies is really hard to get over on top of you just not being a good actor.
He's like that recipe that you keep making like tweaks to it and it's not quite where you want it to be. Like you'll still serve it and eat it, but you're like, this needs something else.
Too much paprika, not enough paprika. Do we add cumin? Do we not? It's just.
These are all.
That's Deke in a nutshell.
These are big questions. All right, did you have anything else before we move on to story?
No, I've got quite a bit to say about story here. I really enjoyed this episode.
I did too.
What about you?
The synopsis, real quick, according to the TV Time app, is a surprise leap forward in time has stranded Enoch in 1931 and landed the team in yet another unfamiliar decade. Now, in order to stop the Chroma Coms from launching their newest future dismantling plan, the agents will have to infiltrate one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s most secure bases. So obviously here we jump into the 50s. You and I talked about how I think 2 episodes in the 30s was great. We get one in the 50s, although the one thing that I did write down, it was cool being in the 50s, but we didn't really get to feel that at all because almost this whole episode took place at the Heliospace. Like they weren't out in the world, if you know what I mean. Like this could have basically been outside of the technology there, like any decade, and you wouldn't really. So I thought it was cool they were there, but they kind of didn't use it to their advantage, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, other than a few of the costumes, but you didn't see a lot of like the 50s cliches that you maybe would have liked. But we're going to be there at least one more episode, I think, if not 2. So they may go heavy into that.
True.
I really liked how that we got back-to-back episodes with pretty heavy action. Obviously, last episode went before they left the 30s, heavy action, went right back into heavy action here, which is they really needed that, at least in my opinion, to keep us going and keep me engaged through this final season. Area 51, I think, is great, and having it disguised as a S.H.I.E.L.D. base, a lot of fun. Coulson's comment about, every area is a S.H.I.E.L.D. base is, okay, that's pretty funny. That means that they're everywhere. Gemma becoming Peggy Carter or posing as Peggy Carter, genius.
Yeah.
I loved, and I think I even said it last week, I wanted to get a Peggy Carter reference at least. I didn't think we were going to. But since they brought Sosa back, they have set the precedence to bring other people back later on in the season.
Yeah. And that was a great use of Gemma in the episode, too. Because I was wondering when Coulson and her get out of the car, someone on the Zephyr made some comment like, yeah, we had to get a little more creative with Gemma's ID card.
Did you know immediately, like, okay, she's going to be Peggy Carter?
No, I had no idea. When she got out of the car, though, when she didn't have, like, prosthetics or something on, I was kind of wondering what the reference was. I like you said, I dug that a lot. Anytime you can get Agent Carter into this show or the MCU, I'm a big fan of it.
I agree.
The only other thing I really had about story, I loved the idea of, like, they're searching for the Chromacom mole within S.H.I.E.L.D. and all the... I mean, there were some really humorous moments that came out of it, but it was just a very cool framing device for the story where they're basically going around trying to figure out which of the scientists in S.H.I.E.L.D. are actually not who they say they are. And it's even more funny because the whole premise is inverted because they're not who they say they are. So they're like running and also trying to catch someone at the same time. It was a really interesting dynamic throughout the story.
It wasn't like a cat and mouse game. It was like a mouse and mouse game.
It was like an owner and cat and mouse game. It's like everyone's sort of chasing someone. And then Sousa, when he realized that, he's actually like, well, I'm kind of with the cats now, which is another interesting wrinkle.
I was kind of surprised how quickly he kind of flipped. Like, I don't know. It was...
Yeah, I guess I kind of was too, but I guess they just didn't have time to devote that much to him.
Yeah.
Playing the diplomat shield.
I think he's going to get in. I think he'll be in the next episode also.
I hope so. I like his character a lot.
Yeah.
Anything else before we move on to best scene?
No, I mean, that's all I had. Like I said, I'm happy that we're in the 50s. I'd like maybe 1 or 2 more episodes there, and then let's jump on to, maybe the 70s, 80s, 90s, somewhere else.
Definitely. All right, best scene. I think I know what yours is, but why don't you tell us anyway?
So mine is when Sosa and Daisy are in Sosa's office, and she's basically saying, hey, I need Coulson and Jemma right now. I'm the CIA. Get it? The way that those two I bought everything about them. I thought that Chloe Bennett, that was her best performance. The confidence that she had just exuding out of her when she said, I'm with the CIA. This is what I need. Just rattled it off like it was perfect. That's what you expect in an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., in a spy. And she hit it the nail on the head. And then obviously Sosa just complimented her so much with how he handled it.
I love, too, the comment he makes where he's like, I'm sure you got my report, how I suspect that Hydra's infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. And she's just like, well, almost like Tony Stark in the Avengers when Cap goes, well, it seems to run on electricity. He goes, well, You're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Kind of the same reaction.
Hang on to that note, because that'll come up in my theories here later.
Oh, okay.
What's your best scene?
So I have a couple, but they're all pretty small. First off, anytime Gemma and Coulson were testing or interrogating the scientists to see who could be a robot who actually would exhibit emotion, I could have seen like 5 different versions of that scene.
Yeah, I want to see what's on the cutting room floor of that.
Elizabeth Henstridge, who plays Gemma, has this like, when she's always been the smartest person in the room, but when she's with like other superior intellectuals, she has, and her character has this like she has this ability to tap into her emotions that other people as smart as her don't. And it's really fun to watch her play that against the people that are much more like rigid and calculated.
I loved when Coulson was talking about the turtle and flipping it upside down in the desert, like basically torturing this turtle. And this old lady is like,
She's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He's like, oh,
why would you think
test.
I did that?
And then the other one I had, you mentioned this earlier, the double Chroma Con fight at the end where it was like enhanced Coulson versus the scientist, and then May and Yo-Yo versus the kamikaze lady Chroma Con. And obviously we can get into this a little bit in theories, but May and Yo-Yo both had like a really rough fucking time in the base. Like Yo-Yo realized I'm basically don't have my powers anymore, and May had like a flashback again. May's got some fucked up stuff going on.
Yeah, May is in worse shape than any of them. Let's back up though. Back up to story and then back up again to acting and cast. Yo-Yo, I didn't mind her in this episode, kind of like you with Deke. I don't want to say I enjoyed her, but I liked everything they did with her character.
Yeah, every once in a while, Cordova Buckley and Jeffrey Wardle show you like
they'll show you what they did in their audition tape.
Exactly. They'll be like, this is why I got this role. It's like that hitter who like every once in a while will just rope a ball down the line. You're like, oh, well, like I see it now. But It's that consistency and doing that week to week. That's the hard part.
And what, again, going into story, having her have a mental breakdown as well as May kind of all at the same time and them going through some shit, like not really like, hey, I'm here for you. I'm not here for you, which was kind of very May-esque. I just, like I said, I dug everything that they did. And then obviously back into the best scene, that fight scene and them coming together like, look, we've had our ups and downs literally 5 minutes ago, but I'm not going to let you die. I'm going to do everything I can to help.
If you're the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they got to figure this out, man, because you can't have Yo-Yo and May working together because they're dealing with some shit right now.
Like, neither one of them should be in the field, if we're going to be honest with ourselves.
Right, neither one of them. I mean, now the problem is with May, she'll kick the shit out of you if you try and keep her on the Zephyr.
Right.
But Yo-Yo, I almost feel like is the opposite. Like Matt kind of had to like nudge her out there. when they were in the diner. Remember at the beginning of the episode?
Yeah, and that's why Mac is not a good leader, and he's a terrible character, and everybody hates him.
Oh, you're just jealous of his biceps. It's very evident.
Steroids.
Can't prove anything. All right. Did you have anything else for best scene or?
Nope, that's all.
All right. Theories and questions. First thing, just segue right here. Question I have: May freezing, which is very unlike her. I mean, you think of all the shit that she has seen, and I mean, I guess that's the other thing. What she experienced at the end of last season, I'm not trying to minimize it, but she's seen some fucked up stuff. I mean, for it to have this big an effect on her, it had to be pretty serious. But she freezes up, Yo-Yo shoots blanks. What do you think is going on with either of them? Like, has Yo-Yo permanently lost her powers? Because I could see that being like her story arc.
How did Yo-Yo get her powers? Because she didn't have them at first, right?
I think she was an Inhuman, like one of the fish oil things that they.
Oh
that
yeah, and then whenever like that crystal thing exploded, she was turned into a. Yes.
Yeah, the Terrigen Mist. Yeah, because I remember they were like tracking people down that had been exposed to it, and she was at like a bachelorette party.
Yeah, that's
in that episode. And her friends like didn't know that she had been exposed to the Terrigen Mist, and they were like, "Go home, get out of here. You're drunk."
Yeah, that's right.
But
and
that's
I can definitely see them trading that back out, and then having Daisy be the only one with actual powers. I can definitely see that.
I wonder if they'll explain hers as the Shrike caused her to lose her powers, or maybe it's just an instance of like the Terrigen Mist just wears off at a certain point, like your DNA corrects itself or something.
Yeah, but then if that's the case, we would have to assume that Quake is going to lose her powers at some point.
It could be possible, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the future holds for May or Yo-Yo, but considering this is the last season, I wouldn't rule anything out. I wouldn't rule out a death. I wouldn't rule out for Yo-Yo a permanent loss of power. I wouldn't rule out even like a Mockingbird and Hunter situation. Maybe one or both of them leave the team at some point by choice. Yeah. But clearly what's going on, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. active duty is not the best place for either of them to be, I don't think.
I agree. I mean, it's tough because they're just a team, so manpower is limited, but you gotta protect them and get them out of there.
Yeah. All right, I got a few more, but what do you have?
So I still think we're gonna end up trying to prevent Coulson from joining S.H.I.E.L.D. Every step of the way, the Chroma Cons are trying to eliminate S.H.I.E.L.D. I think eventually they're going to come to the conclusion that we can't eliminate S.H.I.E.L.D., but we can eliminate whatever's happened with us by eliminating Coulson, whether that's permanently killing him before the Avengers, after the Avengers, whatever. I think at some point we're going to have they're going to be preventing Coulson from trying to join S.H.I.E.L.D. And we may even get a LMD Colston fighting a life Coulson.
Wow, that would be cool.
I don't know if that's the case, but I think like you said, it's the end of the series. Anything is on the table. I think that they are moving, like my prediction last week or my theory last week. They are pushing all of this to connect back to the movies. Obviously, the first few seasons were very heavily connected to the movies through the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. in Winter Soldier. And then after that, they kind of drifted away. We've done all these time travels. We don't even know what fucking universe we're in anymore. I think they are going to be helping or preventing, changing, tinkering with whatever history they're in right now to get back to the reality that they originally left before they went into space and into the future.
Do you think they'll end up back in the current timeline, or will they end up back at the beginning of the show where Grant Ward is there as an intern or whatever?
I feel like they have to end up somewhere around the time that they disappeared out of that diner, because otherwise they would have two Coulsons, two Skies, two Max, all double these people walking around, and then that's just going to open up a whole nother wormhole of things that we don't want to happen.
Yeah, that's the added wrinkle. Obviously, the show is going to end a certain way, just inherently being the final season. But on top of that, there's the timeline issues, or I guess variances that they can cause. So if you're the showrunners, there is so many different ways you can go with this. It's almost like an embarrassment of riches how you want to finish this thing off.
See, and I still think my evidence for them going back and connecting to the movies is you said it before when Sosa says, "Oh, you got my report? Yeah, we have to weed out if we think Hydra's infiltrated us." That is a direct cause of what happens or the events of Winter Soldier.
Uh-huh.
So I think that by them not meddling with it and then keeping things kind of status quo at that point, where again they have an opportunity to change that timeline and change that from happening, they can't or they won't, so that they get back to where they left.
Yeah. To that point, a theory that I have, I'm assuming we will go to the 70s at some point. I think we will see that Shield base, or I guess I think it might have still been the SSR, but that Tony and Cap visit in Endgame, where Howard and Hank Pym are working, and Zola is there. We'll see that in some regard. And I also think we're going to get a young Alexander Pierce, Robert Redford's character in The Winter Soldier.
Okay.
Because he's sort of like the head of Hydra in terms of like them being a sleeper cell in the more modern iteration of S.H.I.E.L.D. So seeing him as like a 30 or 40-year-old in like the 80s or 90s, I definitely think is a possibility.
Maybe
Because you don't even need Robert Redford to play him, obviously, at that age.
Maybe they do something like you see his turn from S.H.I.E.L.D. to Hydra. Something like you somehow they can see him become corrupt.
Yeah.
That'd be
but
cool.
Again, the beauty there is you could just get a much younger actor to play him. He could be.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be anybody.
In fact, it wouldn't work if it was Robert Redford. So it's almost
too easy.
Right. That's my. I have one other question, but I didn't know if you had anything else you wanted.
No, I mean, I still think it would be cool for them to end the show either at the snap or right after the snap. I think it'd be really cool if it ended right before the snap and then half the team disappears with the snap, because we all know how TV shows are. They say it's the last season, and then in 2 years they're like, hey, we're going to revive that for one more season. This gives them the ammo to do one more season, or even a Disney Plus original, maybe like an hour and a half movie.
That would be cool.
That would pick up right there, kind of them dealing with the snap. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I'm hoping for some time like that. I don't know how ambitious. Right now we're a little too far from the finish line to even start to like connect it, but it's got to be something they're kind of like, oh man, that'd be badass to make this puzzle piece fit in.
We all know they at least discussed it.
For sure. Last thing I had was a question. What do you think will happen to LMD Colston after that EMP burst went off? And he's either rebooting or is he dead? Will he come back with no memory of old Coulson? Will he be like a totally different personality? Will he just be normal? His eyes, he looked like me after that time that you made me take like 20 Captain Morgan shots.
I didn't make you take any Captain Morgan shots. I merely just presented the shots in front of you and then put your hand around them and then lifted your elbow to your mouth.
Oh.
That was not me making you do anything.
I'm misremembering, like Andy Pettit.
Yeah. Roger Clemens. Check yourself.
No, he was saying Pettit was misremembering.
Oh. No, yeah, but Roger Clemens is who said it, right?
But he was talking about Andy Pettit.
Either way, they both did steroids, and it is what it is.
We got a little bit off track. We were like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Coulson, I think he's going to reboot. I think he's going to be fine. But I think he's not going to have any memory of the 30s or what just happened in the 50s. It's going to be just like they turned him back on at the very end of last season or very beginning of the season, whenever it actually happened.
I think you're right. I'm just wondering if they'll make it a bigger deal and make us sweat a little bit about him coming back. But it's episode 3 of 13. Like, we're not losing Coulson, like at this point at least. You know?
No, I think if we lose Coulson before the last episode, I think it'll be in like episode 10.
Another thing I'm wondering, and goes back to like the time travel rules in Endgame. Will they, like, is this a multiverse, or are they going to be able to find like other versions of themselves? Because if that's possible, they could swap out LMD Colston for like a real Coulson at one point and just take him with them.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, nothing's off the table. I don't know. I would assume it's a multiverse, right?
I don't know. Or is there like one of them in it? I don't know. Time travel has always confused me and interested me. One thing I will also say, I'm digging the LMD Colston, like his enhanced powers, and he's like learning about them, and it's like, oh, I'm pretty strong. That's fun.
Yeah, like the little quirky jokes and like the little like, oh yeah, I forgot he can do that. Like I love those little comments. Again, I was fairly vocal, like, okay, I'm tired of them bringing him back. Like, if you want him dead, just let him be dead. But again, they're surprising me with giving us yet another wrinkle of a character that we've loved for so long. And honestly, other than Sarge, I've really dug every single iteration of Coulson we've had.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't a huge Sarge fan either, to be honest.
I just thought that them searching for the strike and like the whole season just confused the shit out of me. I just didn't understand any of it. It was kind of wacky and out there for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
But we got the fear and loathing on, what was that planet?
I don't even know.
That was our favorite episode maybe of all time on the show.
That was my favorite episode of all time because it reminded me so much of that night in our laundry room where you took voluntarily 22 shots of Captain Morgan.
All right. On that note, anything else, Banner, before we leave the people for season 7, episode 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Nope. I'm good. I'm excited. And if you've got any good theories, or if you agree or just completely disagree with us, leave them in the comments below. I know Trend Pimp will.
Yeah, and he's helped us out a lot. He especially helped correct us on where Fitz is. By the way, before we leave, dude, I need Fitz in this show soon. He's my favorite character, and they never give us. He has not been with the team steadily in like 4 years, I feel like. Give me my Fitz, man.
I know. Either that or give me a Fitz Enoch show.
Don't even joke about that. Oh my god. That would be so cool. They don't even have to do anything. Just
Fitz Enoch and caning.
running that bar.
Just running that bar. That'd be sick.
That'd be so cool. Again, it could be like Seinfeld. You don't even need plot. It could just be them.
Yeah, just let me watch them hang out.
All right, for the mad scientist Brian Banner, I'm the mayor Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys for listening to us. Check out all of our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reviews. We're going to be here for the rest of the final season. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Letterboxd. If you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words, on all those places will pop up. Follow us on Twitter at BroForceSquad and check out everything that we post on our website, broforcesquad.com. Till next time, we need to go get the people in this diner to believe we were abducted by aliens.
Yeah, but I think we're probably commies, aren't we?
I don't know. Is that such a bad thing?
I mean, commie, capitalist, they both start with the C.